Apparently, these are the worst tropes in all the cartoons. Let's go through each of them and see if I agree or disagree. We're going to start off from top to bottom. We're going to start off with the bratty slash annoying younger sibling. And to be honest, I don't really hate this trope all that bad. You know, you have DW, you have Sarah from Ed, Edd n Eddy, you have Dee Dee from Dexter. Um, Apparently, for some reason, people think Ruby from Max and Ruby. I disagree on that one. I don't really think she's a bratty slash annoying younger. She's older, by the way. Wait, I forgot. Max. Yeah, Ruby's the old. Anyway, that's just whatever. Maybe I'm tripping. But for this trope, I don't really hate it. Sarah is probably the only one of those characters who I absolutely cannot stand. Like, she is probably my least favorite character of all of Ed, Edd n Eddy. Dee Dee from Dexter, she serves her purpose. She isn't really that big of a deal. She's a perfect foil to Dexter, to be honest. Obviously, with her being the dumb one and Dexter being the smart one and having all these inventions and creations and secret lair, and the only person to unironically, like, not stop it because he isn't really evil, but, like, you know, destroy it is her, the idiot. So that's a cool little dynamic. I can't really be mad at it. So if I were to give this trope a ranking from 1 to 5, with 5 being delete this trope now, I'd probably give it like a 1. Like, it's really not that big a deal to me. Next up is Parental Neglect. And just like the bratty slash annoying younger sibling one, from a writing perspective, I kind of understand why. Because it's easier to write a story. Specifically, like, most of these shows are for kids and slash teens. So a lot of characters are going to be kids and teens. So it's easier to write a story with teens with no parents, especially when they're going on adventures and traveling places. It's a lot easier to write them out the story. And then you have the second version of this trope where they're there, but they're like mentally slash physically abusing them. That's the side of the trope that I do not like, because usually it's just there for like sympathy. Like, they're either like the main villain of the show, or they're just like there to justify like the bully's actions. That's the part I don't like. The first part where they're just like not there at all and it's just there for them to be absent and have them to be the 14, 15-year-old teenager where they're living alone. That kind of stuff, not the big a deal. But second part, abusing physically and mentally, that's the part I don't like. And so if I were to give this trope a rating, combining the two, first part would be a 1, not a big deal. Second part would be like a 4. So if I were to combine it, it would probably be like a 3. Perfect right in the middle. Next up is probably the most overused trope in all of media, the love triangle. And as for my opinion on it, it's really, if the entire story is written around the love triangle, that's fine. That's the entire premise. But if it's like a side story, background thing, like 8 times out of 10, it's probably just going to be bad. And like the most prevalent example is the picture right there, the regular show fiasco. Like, if you ask the regular show community, what was your least favorite part of the show? Like, a good portion of them was going to say this story right here, and for good reason. And this trope, when done right, is probably one of the best story narratives you can possibly tell. And when it's bad, it is horrendous. Like, there's a reason why this is so hated. Like, this trope is so hit or miss, it's not even funny. Because the biggest problem people, including myself, have with the love triangle trope is that it just creates so much unnecessary drama. Like, okay, fine, you like character A, but character A likes character B, and character B like character C. Like, most of the time, a lot of the situations they come across can just easily be fixed if they just talk, right? But of course, it's cartoons, it's anime, you gotta drag it out, you gotta give them the will they, won't they, how it's gonna end. It is just, man, this trope is so annoying, yet so satisfying when done right. So if I were to give this trope a rating from 1 to 5, I'd probably give this trope a 4. I don't want it to go away entirely, because a lot of, it does have some good stories coming out of it. But they definitely do need to bring it down in the use. They need to stop using it and just write straightforward romance, please. The predator slash pervert trope is an instant 5 out of 5. I do not like this trope. This trope needs to go for good. No matter what the media is, whether it's gaming, cartoons, comics, manga, anime, whatever. I hate the trope. I hate it. Like, sure, the first couple jokes, fine. I'll let you get those out. Everything after that, it gotta stop. Especially when they start being a creep and they start getting to this portion, which we'll get to in a minute. That's where things get. That's where things go downhill immediately. I do not like this trope. Please, 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 please stop. Especially when the entire personality and character trait is just boiled down to, hey guys, I'm a perv. That's usually my least favorite character in the entire show slash game. I hate it. Next trope is the character Flanderization, and this one is kind of understandable, but hear me out. When a show goes on for 15, 20, 25 years, it's going to happen eventually. Like, it's really, really, really difficult to keep writing a character arc for that long. Like, it's what One Piece is doing is an anomaly. Like, that's not a standard, right? That's the exception to the rule. There's a reason why that manga is legendary. So when a show slash cartoon, especially like a comedy based, which a lot of stuff like this are, it's comedy based. So a lot of it's going to be boiled down to simplified comedy jokes. It's not really too much room for the wise character. And in the case of Brian, he was done so dirty, bro. Oh my God. Early seasons Brian and current Brian are like two different characters. It's like early season Brian was like the wise character. Well, it's Family Guy. It's as wise you can possibly get in a show like that. But this current day Brian is basically just Peter if he was a dog. Like it's man, they did him dirty. You can't talk about Flanderization without saying why it's called Flanderization. If you thought Brian was two different characters, oh boy, let me tell you about Ned Flanders. But character Flanderization, hate it. I don't like it. So if I were to give this trope a ranking from 1 to 5, I'd give this a 5. I do not like it. I understand why it happens. Long running comedy, you gotta, you know what I mean? It's not easy. It's not an easy thing to do, but that doesn't make it any less better. Get rid of this trope, please. And the obsessive stalker trope is another 5 out of 5. When has an obsessive stalker ever been a good character? When has that ever been a good thing? Like, name one character whose primary trait is being a stalker has ever been a cool character. Sierra, I do not like her. It's probably one of my least favorite characters of Total Drama. Like, it was more interesting when she kind of was separated from Cody. He wasn't talking about Cody. It didn't happen too often, but when it did, I enjoyed it. But when she just went right back to Cody, and I absolutely hated it. I did not like it. It kind of ruined Cody as a character too, but that's a story for a different day. This trope, gotta go. Never cool. No matter what it is, what it's used for, what media it is, hate it. Next up is a punching bag trope, and honestly, I don't really have too big of a deal with the punching bag trope. Like, yeah, characters like Kenny, Meg, Squidward, Jerry from Rick and Morty, like those characters, well, except Squidward, those characters are really not a big a deal to me. Those characters like that do not make a break. However, my big problem with this trope is when they kind of go overboard. Like, yeah, it's cool when Kenny does it, right? That's the entire premise of his character, is for him to somehow, some way find a creative way to get off the episode. Like, that's cool. But when it came to Squidward, they just went overboard. Like, the amount of Squidward torture episodes, it's like, bro, what are we doing? Like, is this really necessary? Like, did you really need to do a close-up slow-mo shot of a nail, of a table going into his toe? Like, did we really need to see that? We didn't. We didn't at all. Like, stuff like that makes me hate the trope even more. So in totality, if I were to give this trope an overall rating, I'd probably give this a 3. Does it be overused sometimes with certain characters like Squidward? Yeah. But a good portion of the time is really not too bad, right? Especially when they make it the entire point. Stuff like that, I don't really mind too much, but give it about a 3. Next up is the fake friend trope. Characters like Dejanay and pretty much Penny's entire friend group. She need new friends. Like, oh boy. Like, except like maybe like Michael, maybe like everybody else, they can go. Characters like Dodie from As Told by Ginger. You can even throw Blue from Imaginary Friends in there. Characters like that. It's like if you're gonna do it, at least like make it like a story where they realize, hey, you're pretty much a terrible friend to me. Either get new friends or, you know what I mean, actually like discuss why you're such a terrible friend to them. If not, you usually just ignore it and just have it keep going, or make it go both ways, where everybody is terrible and terrible to each other, kind of like a regular show Mordecai Rigby thing, where they're both just rude and annoying and evil to each other. Like, yeah, stuff like that. That's fine. When it's just one-sided, I hate it. Like, can we please just get a friend group where everybody's just cool with each other and all cool and chill? But I get it, it's cartoons, you need drama. You need, rivalries within the friend group. I get it. But man, this trope kind of needs to be toned down a little bit. So for that reason, I'll give this trope a 4. And the final trope is the scumbag character who gets no consequences. And this is another 5. Like, please, 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 please give them consequences for their actions, please. I'm not saying it has to be grandiose and they got to go to jail or pass away or anything like that. But just, give them their comeuppance, please. Like, is that so bad? Is that so hard? Especially when it's like a villain character. If it's like a one-off, like, is it gonna hurt you to just shoo him away? Like, no, it's not. Like, if it's a long-running villain, I guess maybe, but like, come on. At least Team Rocket blast off every single episode, so they get some form of comeuppance. So, is that so hard to do? Like, is it really that hard to do that? That's why I hate this trope so much. 5 out of 5. And those are all the tropes, all 9 tropes. I gave you my personal rating for them. So for a quick recap, 5, 4. I'm gonna change this. I gave this a 3 before, but I changed my mind. This is going up to a 4. 5, 5, 5. 4, 1, 1. A lot of these tropes I really do not like. Some tropes, like I said, those at the bottom, not that too big a deal. But a lot of these tropes get on my nerve. But hey, those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments. Do you agree? Do you disagree? What are your personal ratings for these tropes? Let me know in the comments.